Sweetie, could you pass me the thing? No, not the money. The other thing. Thank you. Ampersand. And. The and symbol is one of my favorite symbols. And is an important word. It means things are together. Today's devotion comes in the form of a challenge. And many of you guys have done a wonderful job responding to Mrs. Sowerby's devotion and Mr. Flockstra's devotion on Google Classroom, and some of you have emailed in your responses. Some of those responses have ended up on Instagram. I encourage you to continue using the tools that you're familiar with to respond to this question. What if Jesus meant, when he said to love our neighbor, that really included our literal neighbor? How can we do that right now during the COVID-19 pandemic? It's not the first time the world has been paralyzed by a disease. Interestingly, it's also not the first time that Christians have cared so deeply about their neighbors. Light shines brightly in the darkness. Our lives have been significantly altered to combat the spread of the coronavirus. It's important to note there's a big difference between physical distance and social isolation. Isolation and loneliness negatively impact people's mental health. And many of us have experienced a drastic change in the amount of face-to-face interactions. At the same time, people are out walking in your neighborhood more than ever before. I wanted to share with you some really cool resources built around this question. How can you be a good neighbor during this time? Uploaded on the Google Classroom, there is a toolkit with lots of ideas to get you started. Let's go through a few. Number 1, you can reach out to your neighbors via email, phone, or social media. If you don't have their information, you could maybe leave a note on their door explaining who you are, which house you live in, and how they can get in touch with you. Be sure to wash your hands and wipe down the note first. Number 2, when you see people outside, make it a point to talk to them. 1-minute conversations are a big deal when it comes to building relationships in your neighborhood. My wife and I have had a great time getting to know some of the people in our neighborhood as we've been out for walks, making connections with people. Number 3, ask people how they're doing in the midst of crisis. Asking simple and thoughtful questions is more important than ever. For example, how are you and your family doing? How has this impacted your job or your company? Have you noticed any silver linings as a result of the adjustments the crisis has forced you to make? Is there anything you need or anything we can help with? Have you been able to find Thanks, Laura. Here are a few great ideas and best practices you can use. You could have a virtual gathering for your neighbors. You could use Zoom, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, etc. to connect with people who live nearby you. How about a neighborhood sit-in? Have everyone bring their own chair and drinks. Be sure to space everyone 6 feet apart as you enjoy a nice conversation in an outdoor setting. How about a neighborhood online webinar? Is there a skill you can teach to people nearby you? Do your parents want to perhaps take turns teaching about parenting or any other topic that they think would be of interest? Use a video conferencing service to host a trivia game with your neighbors. There's a lot of great apps that provide fun questions and content. Now, let's talk about caring for older and at-risk neighbors. Reach out to these neighbors specifically over the phone or email. If you don't have their contact information, you could knock on their door, take a few steps back, and introduce yourself. You could ask them if there's an errand you could run for them. In all of these amazing ideas, follow the CDC and Health Canada guidelines at all times when interacting with other people. Following these guidelines is the best thing we can do to be a good neighbor and to protect ourselves and the most vulnerable among us. Wash your hands with soap often and avoid touching your face. Maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from other people. Avoid having people outside your immediate family in your house, and limit touches to hard surfaces that others may have touched and wipe them down frequently. If you're not feeling healthy, immediately self-quarantine and avoid physical contact with others. Thanks, guys. I look forward to hearing today and over the course of the week how you've implemented different practices of being a great neighbor in this time of crisis. See ya!